if you're going to put Katy Perry into space, at least have the decency not to bring her back again.
Another week, another grump. Don't adjust your set. Yes, I'm having a midlife crisis. But joining me in this are two men who've already had several, Russell and Kev. Airport security queues.
Honestly, I'm lucky enough to have just come back from holiday a few days ago and
All over his Instagram.
got reminded once again of the apathy, the lethargy, and basically the antagonism that is airport security queues. So no matter which airport you go to, at whatever time of day, there's always a queue. Even if you go fast track, in fact, fast track actually sometimes ends up being slow track in my experience. Anyway, the irritation beyond belief is that you sit in there, we stand in the queue, and you're maybe, 30, 40, 50 people back. You know it's going to take you another 10 or 15 minutes to get to the actual security conveyor belt. What happens as you get nearer, I've, in the meantime, taken my belt off, taken my phone out, taken my watch off, put it all in my rucksack, opened the other compartment of my rucksack. Yeah, I've got my laptop ready.
Around his ankles.
And you get to the conveyor, and 90% of people, I reckon it is, they get to the conveyor like they've never flown before. And
they probably haven't.
And it's, well, maybe not, but it's this realisation, this kind of sudden impact as they get there that, oh, I've got to prepare for this. And you say, yeah, but if you'd prepared for it when you were 10 back in the queue would now be moving
if you
faster,
were, like
it?
Russell,
standing
there with your trousers around your ankles and your boots around your neck.
All colours, all creeds. But it's almost like you end up with this kind of zombie-like approach, which is they get to it and it's a realisation, a new dawn of, oh yeah, I need to do the stuff that I always have to do when I'm in an airport security queue.
But you see this a lot in airports. For example,
ignorance.
Yes, that's the word. But it's like when you, at the other end, when you get to baggage reclaim, people who can't recognise their own luggage. But what is that about?
We could go
further. It's your bag. Why are you taking mine off the carousel?
When you're sitting at the gate and, the often very efficient, airport staff, the airline staff will say, right, all of those that are in Zone C, please come to the gate, right? And you get up because you're in Zone C because either you paid for that or you've got small kids or whatever. And you get to the front, there's a big queue, and half the people are then being turned back by the airport staff because they're in Zone F or A, which doesn't even sound like
somehow
C.
They think they're going to get waved on.
But again, the congestion, the aggravation, the irritation, the trauma almost of going through an airport could be completely eradicated if people just applied a bit of bloody common sense.
But here we are. How long have airports been around in terms of mass travel? It was 60, 70 years. 60, 70 years.
A bit longer.
And the whole system, for mass travel, I don't think much longer than 70 years.
The problem
But the whole system is dysfunctional. It's rubbish. I'm amazed that no one has thought of anything better. We're starting to get there. Gatwick Airport has just announced that they're about to stop all that nonsense about liquid, and how much liquid you're allowed in, if that ever saved a single life.
This is so confusing for people because we've now done it for so long. Yeah. So that whole thing now, don't take your laptop out your bag. I've been taking my laptop out my bag for 10 years. Now you want me to leave it in my bag?
But when you ask one of the security guards, you could have just asked you, why do we take our laptops out of the bag? They go, I don't know.
And also, what's the big deal about making sure you can get all your liquid bottles into a plastic bag? The last time I went abroad, Christmas, on the way to the Caribbean, I remember being at Gatwick. And the assistant guy was helping me. There I was, and we're just desperately trying to get this plastic bag. And he's going, hang on, I think if we put that down, then eventually we get it shut. Yes!
We could.
As if it makes any difference whether the bag's shut or not.
Now you can travel. So yes, the ignorance, the apathy, and I don't know if we should have, public information films on Telemark on a regular basis to say, if you are flying, this is what you do. We know you've done it 18 times before, but still you can't take your belt off before you get to the conveyor belt, or put your phone or your cufflinks or your watch into the correct receptacle. Oh, and the other thing, can I carry on? Yeah. When you get to the end of the security thing and you've got those plastic trays,
what do you do with those?
I dutifully pick mine up and those of my kids, because my kids are spoilt and therefore they don't do anything. So I pick those.
Only yourself to blame for that.
Them up. Yes, I have. And I put them in the correct place at the end. The amount of people that just take their stuff out of the plastic bin, the tray, and walk off, and you think, Who do you think now is going to move it out the way in order to allow all of the others to come through?
The staff. I always say you do this because it's obviously you haven't got anything else to do. You're just standing there looking at us. So why don't you move the trays?
But it is
earn your money.
But it is all part
I know.
of an inherent lack of awareness. This is all part of people when they're travelling. They're not in the real world. But you'd want to talk about people who want to travel out of the world.
Who definitely don't want to be in the real world. These are space travellers, and space travel generally I want to complain about. Okay. Obviously, this has been brought into sharp focus by all those girls, the women, who just went up into space for 11 minutes.
Well, they just went high, didn't they?
Courtesy of Jeff Bezos. Is that what we had in mind in 1969 when humanity looked to the stars and thought, soon it'll be like Star Trek?
But the nice
so
thing
here we are. What is it? 50, 60 years later. And what we got? A bunch of bimbos getting into a capsule and going into the sky for 10 minutes and then coming down again.
That friends of Oprah's and the fiancés of Jeff Bezos are not relatable, say Katy Perry, for example.
Well, but I guess what's the point? Is that
Katy sang up there as well. I mean, shut up.
Well, I was hoping she would come back.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to put Katy Perry into space, at least have the decency not to bring her back again. I mean, how has she ever got to be a star? I just don't know. I mean, she just caterwauls, doesn't she? Shouts. She sang.
She sang "It's a Wonderful World" with a daffodil.
Is that the "It's a Wonderful World" by Sammy Armstrong?
Louis Armstrong. It's a wonderful world.
Is that the song?
Do you think she sang it like that?
Isn't the point as well? They weren't even in space. They had no helmets on, no breathing apparatus, no proper spacesuits.
No.
They looked like they were on some kind of fashion shoot. Didn't they
were all in yoga pants on an aeroplane.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so this is a snapshot
which is
of how crap
travel.
Space travel is. After 50 years, 1969, man landed on the moon. I remember that. The whole of humanity said, the stars are now ours. It's soon going to be like Star Trek. Here we are. What have we got? 50 years, a bunch of girls getting into a little cabinet that looks like a dick, flying into the sky, and then they come down again, and that's it. Katy Perry spewing the most unbelievable claptrap about this showed her the meaning of love and how much...
The diatribe.
I mean, what was she talking? Absolute crap. Total rubbish.
She did a sort of Pope John Paul thing and kissed the ground.
It was about love and gratitude. But I think it was some kind of oxygen starvation to her brain.
It was crap. It was absolute garbage.
State?
But it just brings into focus just how little we have progressed since 1969. We thought it was going to be Star Trek, and this is what we've come to. Space travel.
The final frontier.
Yeah, well, it turned out that 1969 was the final frontier. Ever since then, we've been going backwards. We haven't achieved anything since 69.
It's almost like you can imagine when JFK originally said in about 1963, we're going to put a man on the moon really soon, and apparently they did something.
They did.
They did. Almost as if his last sentence of that paragraph in his speech was, in order that we can put some really tedious pop stars into space for about 30 seconds and then bring them back down again.
He actually said by the end of this decade, a man will land on the moon. He neglected to add, and then after that, it's going to get really, really shit and go downhill all the way.
And be pointless.
But I mean, just generally...
and it'll have to become the sort of hobby of a couple of billionaires
the money it costs. So the money it costs. The vast amounts of money. And by the way, if you're going to give a crap about the green future of the planet, these women who went up to into space courtesy of Jeff Bezos, each one of them put down a carbon footprint equivalent to what it takes us, an average human being, to get through in 11 years.
Wow.
In 10 minutes, in 11 minutes, they put carbon footprints onto the Earth that you wouldn't believe. So,
but I mean, the going rate for a ticket was £250,000, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but then again, Katy Perry would have got it for free. I'd imagine Lauren Sanchez probably got it for free.
Sleeping with the
boss. She did
Yeah.
actually pay.
I don't care.
Did she?
No, I mean I don't either. But
I mean,
she
what
did
about when
actually
they go up into these space things, the
space stations?
Stations,
yes.
yeah, and then they just hang around for ages, and we just keep looking at the picture of some
6
woman
months
with her
max.
hair in the air, and then they come down 6 months later.
And of course, there is another point of irritation, which is that India now has its own space program, a country to which we still give foreign aid. I guess we should ask ourselves at the same time, why on earth are we giving public money?
Is that a space program since 1970?
Yeah. So why are we as UK taxpayers giving money free to India when they've got enough money to fund their own space
program? We give it to China. We give money to China as well.
We should give
No, we give money to China. We gave money to China. I'm not kidding you. We gave foreign aid to China, to Chinese peasants to teach them how to grow rice.
Yep.
What?
And also to educate them on democracy.
We gave China a load of foreign aid money to help teach peasants how to grow rice, which is a kind of coals to sand to the Sahara and all that.
If we are going to give any kind of aid, it should be to the general public at large to teach them how to assemble things in their own home. Because my grump is that nothing arrives at your house complete. You have to assemble everything that arrives at your house.
Everything you buy, particularly online, you mean? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, but you can't even go to a shop. I mean, I had to get some new equipment for the garden, right? A lawnmower, a strimmer, and a wheelbarrow, right?
You really are having a midlife crisis.
I am. And none of it
What's
arrived.
A strimmer?
We'll get to that. But none of it arrived.
He hasn't seen grass. He doesn't know, does he?
None of it arrived in its complete form. I had to spend what I was thinking it would arrive. I'd mow the lawn. Thank you very much.
The lawnmower you had to assemble.
I had to assemble the lawnmower,
the blade,
the strimmer, and the wheelbarrow. None of it arrived.
And how long did that take you?
All day. All day. Yeah.
Well, what did it turn up in?
Like the wheelbarrow, you needed a effing degree in engineering to put that thing together.
But you did it.
I did it.
Can I just say this, though, with all due respect?
Yes.
I'm not sure
that'll be none at all.
You know what's coming?
That'll be none at all.
I'm not sure I would want to use a lawnmower with cutting blades that you, Mark Wogan, had assembled.
Excuse me. I am actually very skilled. These hands...
Well, clearly.
These hands...
You have to be.
...are expert at many things. But why can't it just arrive made?
Yeah.
Because when I see the picture on Amazon, thank you, Jeff, piss off to space, right? It's complete.
Yes.
So you assume with something like that, it's going to arrive.
Do you think
complete.
there's a bit of retailer fraud going on?
Well,
in other words, we get sucked into the picture and the ambience and the experience,
you know what I noticed?
and we don't get told that actually you've got to spend a whole day putting this thing together.
This is the thing. You then look at the reviews and you say, oh, the thing that collects the grass is not very well fitted. And no, these people just haven't put it together properly. A topical one for you, Russell.
Yes, Birmingham, but particularly the bin crisis.
Yes.
As we know, we have returned to the 70s.
Potentially spreading to Sheffield.
Yeah, we've returned to the 70s in terms of the bin crisis. All of the black bags, mountains of them on the streets of Birmingham because of the bin men strike, which is because apparently there's some parity has been sought between cleaning ladies, dinner ladies and so on. And it's 70s on the basis we've returned.
But you know what's nice and 70s
what the
about
Labour
it
Party
is the
did back
army
then.
have been sent in.
Yeah, well, no, but I have a solution, Mark.
Of course they have. They always do get sent in when there's an
I have a
emergency.
solution. So we talk a lot, Kevin does in particular on his brilliant show, The Political Aside.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, some watch it. We talk a lot about immigration, asylum, and so on. Now, there are currently 6 million people in Britain that don't work and probably could. We also have 10.
They're all in Birmingham.
Tens of thousands. Well, they could be if we bust them in. This is my
They're
solution.
dustmen in Birmingham. They're not working.
We also have hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers. Now, the asylum seekers are sitting in hotels right now at our expense doing nothing. Why don't we pick up a load of asylum seekers and the unemployed, take them to Birmingham and ask them to clear the rubbish?
You're not running for office
because they say no.
soon, are you?
Well, to make them do it.
How?
Well, I don't know.
How? What, put a gun to their head?
Deport them. There's a revelation.
Well, no, that's not going to work, is it?
Russell Quirk seen with a cattle trough.
People keep saying this on social media. When do you get the migrants to do it? Because it won't happen, obviously.
Well, take away their 46 quid a week.
I put on Twitter, or X, whatever they're calling it today, the other day. They're going to call the army in soon, but the government is reluctant to do it because the government's Labour and it would undermine Unite, their favourite union, strike. And people say, the army can't do this, the army won't do this. The army won't be doing it. The army will be doing it. The army always get called in times of emergency. Remember the firefighters' strike? Remember the foot and mouth crisis?
But do you know
the
why
army
this
always
started?
get called in.
Do you know why this strike started?
It was equality of pay.
Yes.
And a court case that Birmingham lost that cost them £1 billion, or rather, because of their incompetence, cost the taxpayer.
Dinner ladies,
But no, but
right?
what they did was, why the bin people, are they bin people, went, no, we're not doing it, is because they reduced their salary.
Yep.
So that it wouldn't upset.
In parity with dinner ladies. Yes, even though they do an entirely different job. Yeah. I mean, maybe they should have suggested they just swap. So the bin men can become dinner ladies and the dinner ladies become bin men. Yeah, how about that?
But,
serving up rubbish.
But the unions are liking this Birmingham bin strike, and now they're planning to roll them out to other cities all over the country.
Yeah.
They love nothing more than
And what did one of the
chaos.
local MPs do in response to this crisis? Went on holiday.
Good.
Well, no. And
so
what
did the Prime Minister.
What did Tahir Ali,
Prime
who
Minister's
represents
on holiday,
Birmingham
isn't he?
Moseley, do? He stood up in Parliament not to complain about the Birmingham bin crisis, but to say that the government should fund an airport in Kashmir.
Yes.
We know that if this carries on long enough, it will end up in your favourite genre of TV programme, won't it?
Yes, it will. I said soap operas. I'm sick of soap operas. I used to have to watch them when I was a TV critic.
You were a TV critic, Kev. You've never mentioned that.
Well, you guys are the one who always mention it. I did it for 12 years.
12 years?
And the thing about
that
having to
flew
watch
by for everybody.
The trouble without having to watch the soap operas is you end up getting into them.
Yeah.
You
Liking them.
Got to find out what happened to Peggy, and all this kind of crap. Now, they're all rubbish. They've all completely lost their mojo because in their desperate pursuit for the audiences they used to command but don't anymore, they get more and more ridiculously over the top. So it's all about sort of hostages and kidnaps and gun raids, and it's just ridiculous. No reflection of normal life, which is a big mistake.
Maybe if they did it in Birmingham.
Yeah. Well, look,
Amongst the bin bags.
Yeah.
But then it would be really real.
But the other thing I hate about soap operas, TV soap operas, is they're written and produced by middle-class people who don't understand their audience, don't understand the communities they're supposed to be writing about.
Surely
So,
not.
Eastenders, for a kick-off, this is apropos of nothing, there are 11 people who've got away with murder. 11 people have committed murder in Albert Square.
So at least the Eastenders
but never
police
really
force-
got done for it.
But at least the Eastenders Police Force is representative of the real police. Then
Yeah, but check this out. This is my favourite thing. So the Queen Vic, the good old East End pub.
Boozer.
They don't exist anymore for a kick-off. There are no communities like EastEnders in the real East End. Anyway, the Queen Vic, a couple of years ago, had a big celebratory night. It's always having theme nights. The Queen Vic makes the episodes a little bit more interesting, which isn't that difficult because they're not at all interesting. But anyway, guess what night they had in the Queen Vic to get all the old cockneys? Come on down! Yeah, it's EU night.
EU night?
They had the European Union night after Brexit,
How
so that all the
galvanising.
cockneys could go down to the pub and lament the fact that Britain had left Europe. Come on!
Because the East End of London was bound to have voted to remain.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised the Queen Vic isn't a kind of halal Tesco or something now, actually. That would be more...
It will be. It will be. By the way, half the cast are now drag queens as well.
Yeah.
It is so ludicrous. So
aren't they all just... I mean, they're completely and utterly woke, aren't they? All of them.
Oh yeah, they're very.
Emmerdale,
That's my point.
What about the
Of course they are.
Archers?
Yeah, I'll give you in Coronation Street. Right, Coronation Street, by the way, in its heyday, 70s and 80s and 60s, used to be a work of art. Fantastic piece of television,
And Kev would
accurately
know.
reflecting communities in the north.
And on every day.
Housewives chatting over the fence and all that gossip. Nothing too ludicrously over the top, which is all is now. Anyway, here you talk about the wokery that happens on these ludicrous soap operas written by woke middle class people. A few years back, there was a guy in Coronation Street, and he was in the pub. And he was a fireman. And they were having an argument. He was having a row about football with a couple of the guys in the bar. And he turned around to them and went, "Come on, play the white man." And they all went, "What did you say?" And the entire community sent him to Coventry. And the character was on the way out because he said, "Play the white man." Now, if you say "play the white man" in the average working class pub in the north, or for that matter the south, nobody will give a rat's ass. But in Soapland, oh, you're racist.
Terminal.
You're
That's it.
racist.
Career over.
As if As if it's so annoying. These programmes are the middle-class woke idiots' idea
they're
of the
representative
working
of the
class.
elite, not the people.
Yeah. Well,
and what's happened to ratings for the likes of?
Well, that's the other
EastEnders
thing.
and Coronation
That's
Street?
the other thing.
Does anyone actually watch
Well, that's the point. That's the point. The point about soap operas used to be you put them on at 7:30 early evening. They used to get 15 million, sometimes 20 million, and that was the bedrock, the foundation stone for your big audiences through the night.
What they get
Now, if they're lucky, a big night for EastEnders is 2 million.
Yeah.
Usually 1 million. They don't get the audiences
and Corrie's
anymore.
about 3.
They don't put... Well, Corrie on... No, they're really lucky if they get 3. They usually get fewer than EastEnders. So the ITV...
Does no one ever tap a producer or a writer on the shoulder and say, hey, you know, we've kind of lurched to the left, we've got ridiculous, we've got completely overtly politically correct, and as a consequence, our ratings have dropped. No one ever has that conversation in TV land.
I don't think it's so much. I mean, it is infused with pathetic middle-class wokery, but it's more the fact that they've completely forgotten that these soap operas are supposed to be everyday stories of local folk. They really are, you know, about what a local community would be like. Now you've got people going around, you said play the white man.
Do you think, Kev, do you think that if you went to the Queen Vic with your emotional support dog, they would let you in?
Well, the Queen Vic would like it, but a real East End pub, maybe not so much.
So this is my final grump of the week, which is people who bring their bleeding dogs everywhere. Now, we are a nation of dog lovers. I love dogs. I've got 2 of mine. I don't bring them everywhere with me on the proviso that they are an emotional support dog.
Do you mean little dogs? Not those irritating
all
little
dogs.
in people's
All
handbags?
dogs.
Look, I mean, the whole point is...
Therapy dogs.
Therapy dogs.
That's rubbish, isn't it?
Stupid.
What do they do? Talk back to you? Yeah, you know what I do.
My dog, bad therapy dog.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling Mark earlier.
You should delve a little deeper into your childhood.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, can I have another bone?
Yeah.
I am that person, though.
Let me help
I
you
have to take my
You
dog.
have, you
I
have
have
turned
to
into
take
that,
my dog everywhere.
But not for emotional reasons.
No,
It's
because
for the dog's
he won't let us go out
emotional
without him. And he shouts and screams and pisses all the neighbours off. So, you know, for example, on Saturday night...
Has your dog has co-hosted your radio show before, hasn't it?
Yes, he has.
Hosted.
Chasbo. Yeah, he stood in for Mike Graham with great aplomb, actually. He actually went viral. But I had to get a bus to a restaurant on Saturday night with my wife and my dog, because the dog can't walk very far either. Go to the restaurant, eat food, get back to the bus stop. And the reason we got a bus was because taxis won't take dogs.
So you have to choose very carefully where you go.
Yeah, of course we do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Now, would you ring in advance and say, do you allow dogs?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Right.
We check it all out.
But it's when people just turn up with it in a bag.
Yes.
And
Which is an accessory. That's not therapy, is it?
Invariably not trained, will run around the restaurant, bite waiting staff, the whole thing. It's like, just leave the bloody thing at home.
Has it ever crossed your mind? So the fashion accessory that is a Chihuahua in a Hermes bag.
Yeah.
I mean,
So strong look. I won't be adopting
there must
it.
be dogs that, I mean, dare I venture, defecate within that Hermes bag.
Oh, yeah.
What happens?
Shit!
What happens? I mean, that must be a thing.
Well, the bag
surely.
smells of shit.
I mean, what do you do with the bag? It just gets thrown away.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's a very posh poo bag, isn't it? I mean, if you're that rich, you just throw the Hermes
put the
away.
thing in the doggy
and
bin.
just-
I've got these 2 gay friends who live in Deal down in Kent, and they've got 5 Chihuahuas, and
their own baggage.
and they take these dogs around in this sort of baby pushchair. So they took a picture of me one day outside their house with a baby pushchair and 5 Chihuahuas. So I just stood there and I put it on extra saying, "It's a long story."
Well,
Kev,
it's been a long week of grumps, but that is it. Big thank you to Kev and a big thank you to Russell. See you next week. Stay grumpy.